Yeah, Council O. Okay, everyone, we have 15 minutes. Usually I have to stretch to fill the time. This time I have to condense to fit the time. So my name is Brett Spivey. I work for the Center for Geographic Information and Analysis here in Raleigh with the state of North Carolina. And I, along with Jeff Essick, who works with the NC State University Library, will go through how over the last 15 or so years, North Carolina has really worked to develop and promote a culture that has really fostered geospatial data sharing and really worked to simplify access to that information and give it to consumers in a format that they can actually use and do something with. So if you take a couple seconds and just look at this slide, you see a lot of buzzwords of the day up here. Transparency, openness, decision-making, value, et cetera, et cetera. And this is kind of the holy grail of what we're shooting for. But back in 2001, this obviously wasn't the case, or pre-2001. Everybody was in their own little universe. We would sit there and use our digitizing tablets and do our analysis within our local government or within our region or whatever entity we were involved with, and we were happy to do that, and it worked just fine for us. However, when it came to data sharing, or hey, let's talk about how we can make things more easily interchangeable. Yeah, that's a really good idea, but we're cool with the way we are right now. We're doing everything we need to do. So something needed to change. And apparently, they're changing fast. So in 2001, they established the North Carolina Geographic Information Coordinating Council. And the object of this was to promote and foster data sharing, the development of best practices and standards between the public education university system, local governments, NGOs, the state, and private business. So everybody got together and said, okay, well, we want to data share. And if anybody's in this room from the era that actually recognizes what these things are, you remember what hell it was, right? We had tapes, 4 millimeter, 8 millimeter, diskettes. We had the big ones, if you were really old, that held nothing. You were really cool and a really rad person if you had one of these blue monstrosities, which held an entire 100 megabytes, or if you had the later version, the 250 megabytes. And we're data sharing. That's awesome. How did we do that? We received phone call upon phone call upon phone call. Or we were doing a project and we made phone call upon phone call upon phone call. It sucked. It really sucked. But we knew we had to do it, so we begrudgingly did so. And we would take your data request, or whoever I was calling would give me their data and slam the phone down and then go, oh my gosh, when's the next phone call coming? This is not GIS analysis. This is not doing the cool stuff. This is terrible. So the council said, okay, well, we want to do data sharing, and it's a good thing, but it's not really panning out the way that we thought it would evolve. And so they developed this idea that we're going to create a platform or a framework to where we're going to develop some ground rules to where we can foster data sharing amongst everyone within the state in such a way that the pain in the butt factor really goes down. And that thing was called NC OneMap. And the tenet behind NC OneMap was that they would create this framework to where things would be available online and would really foster the public health and safety, the quality of life, and the development of economic vitality within the state. Given, I'll admit, those are real hoity-toity type concepts, and it's something that would go in a vision statement. But if you boil that down, that's really why we do GIS, is for better decision making to address one of those types of facets. And from that, these are the 10 original characteristics from OneMap. Provide value, make it accessible, have it free to use without restriction, have it available online 24/7, have it well documented and maintained and of high quality. All these things that even today when we look for a data set, that's what we look for. You know, you can't really use something if you don't know where it came from and it's terrible. So let's set some baselines here to where we can rely on that data and it's freely available. The public-facing part of NC OneMap is our geospatial portal, and this is like data.gov or any other type of implementation along those lines. You can search by keyword or key phrase. We have an alphabetical listing. You can search geographically or by time, and with that we get metadata, links to the online resources, links to being able to download that data. Currently, we have over 300 data sets and 95 map service or web services that are available. Those are available in all the appropriate OGC specifications, so WMS, WFS, WMTS, and in some cases WCS. In terms of download, these are available as shapefiles. So NC OneMap was kind of cranking up and doing that, and they said, okay, well, let's generalize a little bit and come up with some best practices or recommendations for data sharing in general. And perhaps the ugliest slide of all time, I won't read down through all these bullets. I'm breaking every PowerPoint tenet here, but if you go down through that list, these are things that are common sense, right? But they weren't back then. And so they took the time to develop these recommendations to say, hey, let's keep the conversation going. Let's keep the momentum going and push this concept of access and sharing and, to use the word of the day, collaboration. And really, what are we talking about? We're talking about opening the doors to all this information and getting a return on the tremendous investment that local governments, universities, and states make in geospatial data. I mean, this stuff is not cheap. It's not cheap to develop, and it's not cheap to maintain. So let's get it out there and let people start using it in ways that we have no idea when we create this stuff that it will be developed such that they may come up with an application or a product that we could have never thought about when we first started. And again, you have value that comes out of that. So that's the first one big initiative. The second big initiative is Imagery. This is a depiction of North Carolina's orthoimagery from 2001 to 2008. There were some counties that were not flown at all. There were many counties that were at least 4 years old, some of which were 7 years old. And as you can tell by the tonal differences here, they were kind of one-offs between each county. Different contractors, different standards. Fine if you're working in your own little universe of a county, but what if I had to do some type of analysis that was on a county border? Or I needed to do more of a regional analysis, or I needed to do an economic development evaluation throughout the different parts of the state. You know, I couldn't count on that imagery being consistent. Also, the entity that grants a lot of the funding to help subsidize the cost of these flights was receiving, on average, $24 million worth of requests per year. $24 million per year. So the GICC got together and the 911 board, which is the funding authority, and said, this is crazy. They started looking at it, and in 2010, flew the state comprehensively for the first time. This is 6-inch pixel resolution, leaf off. You can go anywhere in the state, and every pixel or every property of that pixel is identical. So the entire state was flown at a cost of $14 million per year. So we are flying a quarter of the state starting in 2012, and the plan is to continue such that no portion of North Carolina will have imagery older than 4 years. What sets this program unique compared to other states in the country is that the product is consistent. Now, I can look at imagery in a geographic location in 2010 and then in 2013, and I can actually do an analysis on that or view, just even if it's just eyeballing it, that I know the quality of that product is the same between years. And we're doing that at about 14 million a year. And there's a little fudge factor in here. I wanted to make it sound really cool, but it's not too far off the mark. That compared to the 24 million per year of requests, the state's saving $82 million over that time. The other big thing that we're really excited about is seamless parcels. This is a database or a record set of 5.6 million records. In North Carolina, counties are responsible for maintaining parcels. They are also free to choose which software they use and what schema they decide they want in their attributes. Trying to put all that together is a nightmare. The state, I know for a fact, employed 2 people full-time. That is all they did, was call local governments to try and mash this data together. And I see a lot of people nodding their heads. They know the pain we're talking about. So the state developed a transformer whereby the counties can push their data up, map their attributes to the standard schema, and each successive time they upload that data, all the attributes are mapped to the standard schema, such that we have up to 63 attributes for every county in the state. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jeff to talk about what the library's doing.
Okay, thanks, Brett. So I'm a librarian at NC State, providing a lot of data services to students and faculty. Any given year, we have over 500 students taking GIS classes, and so a lot of those students are interested in data for their projects, and the data that's available through the state, through different initiatives, is very valuable, and best of all, it's free. And so that's one of the reasons that it makes our students very successful, is that they have this large quantity of data to draw from. This page is a little bit blurry maybe, but basically it's a page of links that we have on our library website, and it links to all the different county web maps, data download sites, and it also a link to a GIS page that will give you contact phone numbers, email addresses for those particular counties, and so if you need to get in touch with them, you can. It also, on the left, has a link to our archive pages for each county, because we've been collecting this data for 15 or 20 years, and so we've got a really nice archive of local data that if you go into those pages, it will tell you exactly what we have. And it turns out that this is one of our most popular pages on the library's website. Okay, let me go. Okay. The library website, if you look here, it says number 4, but number 2 and 3 are the same page, and so this county's link page is actually the number 3 most popular landing page on our entire library website. It's also into the top 10 just pages for page views, so it kind of blows my mind sometimes that it's that popular. And this is the archive page, if you go into Wake County, that tells you the different years that we have. What did you do to this PowerPoint? This is a map showing the counties of North Carolina that allow data downloads. 2 points I want to make here. One is that it doesn't matter the population size, the economic situation of the county, because we've got some of the smallest, poorest counties have data downloads, as well as all the economically prosperous and most populated counties. So I know the more urban counties recognize free data download as being a valuable asset, and it helps with their developers and people who need data being able to access it. The second point I want to make is you'll notice clusters, and we've always recognized that there's peer pressure involved in doing what your neighboring county is doing and providing those downloads. And one thing that we hear quite a bit is counties will decide whether or not to put data based on whether or not their neighboring, the next door county, is doing it. So you can definitely see those little clusters of counties that abide by that. That's all we have. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.